Did you take a survey of all the teachers when you rolled it out, or is it just the people on the committee?
For K-8, it's just the people on the committee.
So when you rolled this out, you didn't share with the other elementary teachers what they felt? Any feedback at all, like with Amplify, things like that?
No. Mm-mm. And the committee members took information back to their site.
Their site?
Yeah.
And was that favorable from everybody? My next question is, you need materials, correct?
Correct.
And when would you like to have them by?
The adoption, if approved, would come with 2 years of hands-on the lab materials.
I think we might misunderstand. Are you talking about the actual materials for class instruction or the supplemental materials, the consumable materials?
The classroom materials.
Oh, I apologize. So the classroom materials, if will be coming back to the board for approval on April 2nd. And we would expect the materials, if approved, it would arrive prior to the end of the school year so that teachers could be trained during the summer and July.
You'd like to do your PD with Amplify then during the summer, is that correct? Your
Yes.
professional,
Yes.
okay. And then you need your materials to go with that too, I assume, right?
Right, so the print materials, so like the teacher's edition and the student workbooks, those would all be ready, as well as the hands-on lab materials.
Just from talking to a few teachers, they seem very excited about this program. But as Mr. Neely said, time was a problem. Mr. Khan, are we budgeted for this?
Yes, sir.
We are budgeted for this?
There's for the material itself.
So they'll have this when the summer comes?
For the material or for the
The materials for the teachers to work with?
the materials all fully budgeted for.
The classroom, just disposable, not
There's
disposable.
currently $4.5 million of remaining unencumbered budget, and it's split between the restricted lottery and also the unrestricted general fund portion.
So their wishes here will be fulfilled?
I don't see why not.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I do, Gary. A couple of questions. Some of them have already been asked. One of them is the implementation plan. A lot of times it's great to have all this and do all the work and get the materials, but then how you transition it from a box of books to the teacher, to the students, how is that all going to work?
Hi. So the way the curriculum, it's very teacher friendly in that it is basically like an instructional book that comes with a script should a teacher choose to use it, or as it is usable. So it's completely teacher friendly. And so I don't think in terms of transitioning or rolling it out, it'll be, I think, a very easy process that can take place. And they will be having or adding a click and go section for teachers so that it's tech friendly, that goes up on our tech and it's literally loaded and they can follow through and do it. So I think the rollout and teacher training will be very easy. I think we have all implemented it very well in our classrooms. So.
Great. Now, are you able to use a Promethean board?
Yes.
Okay, very good, yeah. They're kind of cool. Yeah. One of the things I've always asked about is with science, you know, it's one thing to have things that you can show and you can present, but it's a whole different ballgame when they get their little hands on stuff. It really enforces that. So I'm real concerned, not in a negative way, I want them to be able to have that experience of manipulation of, you know, an experiment or a lab or whatever you want to call it. So do they have something for, let's say, the subject is magnetism or electricity? Are there little pre-packaged things that the teacher makes it really simple for the teacher to present it to the child, either through demonstration or hands-on?
So third grade has magnetism, and the unit, it wasn't the one I piloted, but I was able to see the unit. And the students are placing themselves in the position of a public relations officer, where they have to explain to their community the purpose and function of the maglev train, because that's what they're going to have now in their community. And as you go through the unit, the students gather more and more and more information about magnetism and magnetics, and and how this whole train system is going to work. And then at the end, the writing project is where they write up a proposal for the city that they're going to present, explain to the townspeople what's going on with this. And so as they go, there are activities that they do to build their understanding of what's going on scientifically with the train and the magnets and things like that.
Great, that sounds great. I like the connection between magnets repel, magnets, attract. A lot of times you go, oh, that's kind of cool. You play with it. There's no reason why you need to know it, and there's a real world application for that. So I think that's great. One of the things that I've always, and I've talked to Ms. Katowski, gosh, it must have been 2 years ago, I'm thinking, well, with the modules, how is that all going to work? And it's funny because I even said, well, where are we going to store that stuff? Because classrooms are kind of full and there's a lot of things in the classroom. And you want it stored properly so that when you need it, you grab it, there it is, you can use it. The other part of that is consumables. It's going to be an ongoing budget to replace things, because if you use them once and, gee, how do I do that? So are the consumables come out of the site funds, the district funds? I mean, how does all that dovetail into it to make it available so that the teachers have it at their hands when they need it?
I think I can speak for the teachers, the committee members. I don't know if I can speak for Mr. Kahn or Dr. Washer.
I'll give you whatever money you need for science.
Thank you. What the teachers wanted, they were very specific that they did want a budgeted item or a line in the budget at each school site, so each school site could replace their consumables that go along with the science, the little Alka-Seltzer tablets and the baking soda and whatever else, the things that they need. And there are some things that teachers have historically supplied. I don't know, they keep mentioning a teapot. They don't want the teachers to have to buy the teapots. They would like the schools to be able to have the funds to purchase that. So they are asking for an item in their budget to be there for the remainder of this program to replace those things that are used up and consumed.
And you will remind us, hopefully, when you're developing the district budget.
Yeah, I'm sure I will have lots of people reminding me.
Well, that's good. Well, and really, that's the reality of it. In order to make that available to the kids, it has to be replaced. And if you don't have a budget for it, what I don't want is the site, we say, okay, that's now a site responsibility, but then the district doesn't give the site enough money to do it. So that's good. That really helps a lot.
And one thing with this program, all of the consumables are at this point supplied for 2 years. So for next year and the year after, the need to resupply those consumables would be beginning in our 3rd year.
Good. What I would recommend is stay a year ahead of it. You knew that was coming,
I
didn't
knew
you?
that was coming, but I wanted
I
to
married
be
a
upfront with
scientist,
you.
what can I tell you? And I know what it's like having to go out and buy science materials for my scientists to teach your children. So that would be kind of a suggestion. I'm glad you mentioned that, because that way we know if there's any kind of a purchasing or delivery glitch, it's okay, because you've got that whole year for that to come to you and for you to restock and those kinds of things. So, yeah, and Mr. Neely's absolutely right about time. Egads. There's just not enough hours in the day, it seems like, for anybody to get through what they need to get through for those school years. So, come up with something genius.
We're going to be very innovative and very creative and a genius when we solve this problem, because it will apply to science and social science.
Awesome, because I like science.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yeah.
In addressing the time issue, the way that it was originally developed by scientists at UC Berkeley and through a program called Seeds of Science. And so the books, the way that they're set up, it's not a traditional textbook in a sense. They're actually individual reader books, and they promote shared reading. So in terms of doubling up on your time in the classroom, a teacher could use that as a way to teach ELA standards or reading standards. And it's not just nonfiction books, there's also storybooks that go along with it too that are teaching the concepts as well. So I just thought I would bring that up because I think this program lends itself very well to a teacher that would be inclined to save time by teaching science and reading instruction at the same time.
Ms. Kachowski, could you please talk about the public display for folks to come and look at it?
Oh, yes. All of the grade level materials are on display. They have been on display since the day after Curriculum Council in portable app, which is, if your badge works, it will open the door to you, for you to be able to go in and look at the materials and write a comment. And if your badge doesn't work,
Parking lot?
yes. Just contact me and we'll make arrangements to have somebody come out there and open it for you. It will be available it's available until the end of, I guess, this week, since it's been out for 2.5 weeks. It'll probably be there until we come back from break, but, you know.
So for the teachers, what do you think about the rigor for this, for maybe intermediate students? You're kind of not shaking, that's good.
I'm an 8th grade science teacher over at Millswood, and I found the program to be just amazing. Before getting to rigor, just the engagement from the family is just incredible. The students ask every day they come into class if we're going to find out the answer to the problem that they're trying to solve, and they're truly trying to solve it themselves. And in terms of rigor, it's been, you start with a pre-test, you have a critical juncture halfway through with the unit, and then you have a final test. And you could clearly see the students did not know the information and struggled still about halfway through, and then you could really see them start to truly grasp the concepts at the end. And so I think it's been really good.
One final question and I'll stop. But, you know, when you're doing hands-on science, there's still that base of knowledge that they have to get so they know what they're kind of looking for at the end. Is there still a good base to build them so they know the questions to ask and what to look for and those kinds of things?
Yes, I would say there definitely is, especially they were talking about the articles. Our articles are highly engaging and they have the vocabulary built into them, and as they read through them, they're developing the base knowledge of where they need to go with the information, and the curriculum is very, very good at guiding them in the right direction, and especially from the teacher standpoint, it really helps us to see exactly where they would want them to go, and it just provides the path to get there through very, very engaging hands-on and digital labs as well. The digital labs are just amazing. But the kits, they come with all of the supplies, and students are using toilet paper roll holders as launchers, and they're launching golf balls and rubber balls, and they're seeing how everything works, and they're truly engaged. It's been great. I'm continuing the program through the rest of the school year. They've kept it open for us to do that. And
Oh, you're one of the pilot?
yes,
Okay.
yeah, the entire committee was on the pilot program.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Porter, you have a follow-up?
Just a couple. I'll check it, sure.
First of all, I think when I was listening to you, the lessons are very organic, meaning you can go different ways based on, anybody can answer from the committee. I kind of got that feeling that it wasn't like rock, step, and motion, that you can kind of diverge a little bit based on where the students are headed, or where you lockstep in these pods, so to speak, of what they want you to do. Does that make any sense, what I'm asking?
Yes, well, so I teach first grade, so there's definitely an order and a progression for
Right.
how they're wanting you to teach the information. However, there is some flexibility
Good,
in
good.
when you introduce different concepts, when you include the reader. They give you an outline, which is wonderful.
Right.
But you do have the flexibility of when you're going to incorporate that in.
That's what I was hoping for, teacher flexibility.
Yes.
And then my second question is, Amplify, that's Lawrence Livermore, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, then my third question to you.
Lawrence Hall of Science.
Lawrence Hall of Science, been there many times. Now, my third question to you is kind of based on past experience. Order and order early, and keep your copies. because they will lose them, and then you'll be going, oh, what the heck, I gotta do this, lab in a week, and nothing's come through. So get all that stuff done early, because no matter how organized you are, a lot of people aren't on the other end. So congratulations, I thought you did a great job, outstanding.
And then I just wanted to include, it is coming out of the Lawrence Hall of Science, and in the teacher information at the beginning, it tells you, these are the concepts the student should have before you delve into this unit, and these are the progressions of the concepts that the student should acquire as you go through it. And so they're very clear on the science that's going on as the students are progressing through the different modules. And they lay it out for the teacher. Your students will learn this, and so.
Good stuff.
There's a lot of research rationale behind why it's shared reading, why they're doing this, why vocabulary. Like they include not just research from science, but research from how they developed this with 34,000 students and several, I can't remember the number of schools that they piloted it with.
474 teachers.
Yeah. Like it's been tested, it's research-based, it showed growth not just for
I read all that.
students, but yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Outstanding presentation, you guys are really nails, I love it. Great job.
Okay. Any other comments? Comments from the public?
Good evening. Thank you, committee. Wow, exciting report. And great to hear that everyone's really excited about it. A couple of things is going forward, I believe. First, as Mr. Neely and I think Mr. Heberly said, the flexibility. Give the teachers that academic freedom to use their professional judgment if they're using science to teach language arts. So I love to hear that because I know teachers have been wanting that. Also, Mr. Porter bringing up the consumables and Mr. Heberly about the replenishment of that in the 2 years. And again, teachers spend so much of their money already in their classrooms. We need to make sure this is fully funded for as long as we have. Every year, it should be an automatic order for those consumables. No order should be being lost in the shuffle. It should be automatic, and I think there's some way that that should be able to be done. I wasn't quite clear on whether or not this would be a site's responsibility or a district budget, so we'd love to hear the answer to that, and maybe we'll get that in April. Also, about the training and the professional development, I'd like to remind you that with our last adoption, we asked for at least 3 opportunities for teachers to go through PD, and at least one of those not be on their own time. You cannot expect a teacher to give up their family vacation, their summer vacation in any way, or the freedom of professional development choices on those 2 days to do the science. So if we can make sure that we have a 3rd day included, that, yes, I'm sorry, have a sub, but it's on their contract time, not above and beyond. Yes, they get a time card for going early in summer, but you know what? That's not always what's best for all members and all families. So if you'd please be cognizant of that and be able to give them that option for training. Also, just want to know, online pieces, everything is finished. There is nothing still that they're working on that as the teachers open up the textbook, they won't be able to load it. So just reassurances is what I'm looking for. Great. Thank you.
Looks like you got it. Okay, any student comments? All right, thank you. We're moving on to, you to stay right where you are, Ms. Kotowski. Science Pathway course.
Thank you, committee.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
So we're changing out our K-8 teachers to our 9-12 science teachers.
wondered why you were here, now you know.
So these are representatives of our 912 science teachers that are on the committee to select materials and make a recommendation for a course model. We have Todd DeGradmont. I see. I just call him by Todd. And then we also have Melissa Turner, right? And Lisa Stewart, and I think we all know Mike Heberly, right? And you all know Cheryl Lee. So I'm going to turn it over to Cheryl Lee, who will do the executive summary, and then we'll open it up for discussion.
This is an update summary. The presented pathway model has been designed to support the needs of all students to achieve college and/or career readiness in science. The teachers have chosen to follow a hybrid of the 3-course and 4-course models that are presented by the California Science Framework. The differentiated pathways will provide the best access for students to meet the needs within our 2-year science requirement, but 3 years of science is highly recommended. If a student chooses a 2-year science pathway, they are strongly encouraged to take a CTE course pursuing career readiness. The teachers have also asked that professional development in coordination with science teachers will need to be provided for counselors, administration, and other personnel associated with course selection.
So now we turn it over to you guys for questions.
Okay, any further questions? Comments from the board?
Yeah, I have a couple.
All right, go for it.
Sorry, it's science. I noticed in your model that I'm on the February one, you said on the, I'm looking at 9th grade, and you have under accelerated college, science career and math 2, CP plus biology. I'm on the February 2019.
Right, I can see, I was trying to find it for everyone else, but the
Okay.
slideshow's not.
I'm going back before that.
Right, and when I go back, it goes back to that. So I don't think the public will be able to see what you're referring is.
Go ahead.
Not there.
Okay, I'm on the slide that you have about CP plus biology. Can you explain that to me? What is CP plus biology?
The plus for now was just in the name to be an honors course. We were wondering if we were looking at the pathways for what we have in mathematics right now, and they have the math plus for kind of their honors route.
Right.
We did some research with the UCs and their interpretation of honors. Thought we had to change name. Now we don't. So for now, that was just part of, hey, this is going to designate honors. We could.
So we've lost chem honors and bio honors?
No, they're still there. That's the plus.
This is the plus?
Yeah.
Now, do they get a elevated GPA on that? I believe you don't, according to your next slide.
There are teachers that at this point would like to still discuss that whole thing.
So that's preliminary?
But the pathway.
Yeah, I'm looking
they
at the
like.
slide where it says biology CP plus, it's A through G 4.0, is that correct? And is that what you agreed on?
The committee brought that up.
They brought that
And
up?
now, it has been talked, and I believe we got approved to meet with subjects now. So, or science teachers can meet biology teachers, chemistry, physics, to have further discussions on that.
I guess I'll ask Ms. Turner. It's been a while, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Would you like to see 3 years on the college graduation?
I would love to see 3 years on a college graduation.
And we use a CTE for the 2nd and 3rd year then for those students that are looking for different pathways in science?
Correct, yes.
So is that something that you kind of alluded to in this subtly? Is that correct?
Yes. Not so subtly.
Not so subtly.
It is recommended. I mean, we would love for the board to change it to 3 years. That is putting a strain on other subjects and on being able to find the teachers and the classrooms to support that.
Right.
So as a committee, we were looking at, well, what is the likelihood of that happening? And we kind of decided probably not highly. And so we were looking at a method to be successful
Right.
in that endeavor. And I think it came out that 75% of our students already currently take 3 years of science.
That's my next question. How many are taking 3 years of science?
And so I believe it was a statistic around 75%. So we do have a pretty high enrollment in 3 years of science already.
How does the committee feel about that?
We would like to see it higher, but,
I mean, 3 years, was it consensus?
oh yes.
Okay.
Everybody would like to see 3
Do you
years.
see any areas here that you yourself might change? Putting you on the spot, Mr.
Totally putting me on the spot. Actually, with this right here, Lodi High School is actually the only one that follows the pathway that starts with freshmen going into the Living Earth biology, or Living Earth.
Living Earth.
Bear Creek and Tokay, and I'm not sure about McNair because they kind of have a whole different system. They actually don't have that pathway currently at their school. And so I brought that concern up to the biology teachers at my school, and they agree with how Bear Creek and Tokay actually funnel freshmen either into the accelerated biology, which would be honors currently, or earth science, so long as earth science gets the A through G accreditation as a lab science course.
Gotcha.
And so with that, we were talking about if we eliminated that courseway, then the freshmen would go, it would increase our earth science numbers, which would benefit the testing their junior year because it's strong on earth science, but also give that accelerated pathway for the freshmen at a higher level class than what CP biology is currently right now.
Okay. Mr. Grandma, I have a question for you. Can you explain to me Physics 1, Physics 2, AP? I'm confused. Is there just an AP Physics or is it 1 and 2?
Yeah, Physics 1, well, currently we offer conceptual physics.
Correct.
Which would be equivalent to Physics 1.
Gotcha.
And then Physics 2 would be your CP physics, which is college prep. And not to say that conceptual is not college prep, and the way we viewed it as a committee, and even at our site, is that conceptual physics would be for those students who are going to go on to be non-science majors, perhaps social studies, English, or whatever, and those who want to major in science would take the physics CP or physics CP2. And then, of course, you can go on to 3, which would be AP physics, whether it be A, B, or C.
Yeah, I'm looking at your chart here. It says Conceptual Physics, CP. Then you have AP Physics 1, and you have AP Physics 2.
Right, so that would be, as it is right now, that'd be physics, AP Physics A and AP Physics B.
So that's 2 years, correct?
Well, yeah, that would be 2 years.
Okay.
If the student can make it that far.
Right.
We don't offer that at Lodi High, but I believe at Tokay, Ryan is currently working towards doing 2 at Tokay.
So that's somebody that'd be in a 4-year plan probably for science.
I'm sorry?
That would be somebody that's on a 4-year plan. They'd be going science for 4
Yeah,
years.
well, yeah, it depends on which
Obviously.
path they go, if they bypass either AP Biology or AP Chemistry, or do some things concurrently.
Okay. Are you
We try to
comfortable?
make we try to make the pathway such that a student would have a lot of room to move from one level to another.
Yeah, I noticed that. A lot of flexibility.
So that if they, after their sophomore year, they decide, hey, I'm college bound now, so they can move up. Or if they say, yeah, that's not for me, I'm gonna move down and move into something else which is non-science based.
As a veteran, how do you feel about this?
I think it's good.
Okay.
I do. I just hope that we can address all the needs of the students. I mean, one of the concerns I had with the committee was, is the UCs on board with the way that the NGSS is written? And we had yet to get a solid answer back from that.
UCs and CSU, right?
Correct.
Correct. And you haven't got any information back?
Well, no, because if we go with the NGSS the way it's written, then there's going to be a lot of stuff that could potentially be left out.
Right.
And that would make our students underqualified to compete against those students from other states or other districts that do have the qualifications for that. And so we were concerned about that, but we think that with the flexibility of the program that we have, the course model we put in place, we can meet that criteria.
That's a legitimate concern, though, one that really needs to be taken care of. And you
Yeah.
obviously know that.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. For me, I know that you guys put a lot of time in. Great job.
A lot.
All right, any other comments?
Of
Good.
course.
Oh, we have.
Thank you for your work. I kind of visited a couple of your meetings, and the discussion of all of those things that are ancillary issues that are extremely important, just like the last one you were talking about. Yeah, we need to make sure that where they choose to go, if it's a four-year college, that what their transcript says is going to actually help them instead of hinder them. So that's kind of one issue. Now, is that how are we going to resolve that? Do we know what they want? How, and if we don't know, how are we going to know before we actually start putting these things on their transcript that hurts them?
I truly think it depends on, I'm loud enough, I don't need that. I truly think it depends on which college you are looking at or looking at going into, and what is your major going into that college. So I don't think you're going to get a straightforward answer about, yeah, NGSS will prepare that student. I think there's more variables than a yes/no answer there.
Okay, so when is this pathway going to start? 1920, 2021?
That's a good question, because, not to throw any of these fellow colleagues under the bus, but sometimes this pathway changes a little bit and it's tweaked this way and tweaked that way. I'm not sure that this is in its final stage yet, if I am understanding correctly, because they want to meet in their subject-like content areas, and I have a feeling that may make some changes to the pathway. So I don't believe it can be in place for 1920, right? That's next year. So the year after would probably be the
Well,
time.
for me, the point is, let's do it the right way, and let's make sure we get all these questions answered before we start putting kids in a system that nobody else understands.
Right.
So, yeah, I keep discussing. I think it's fine. One thing that kind of jumped out at me too, and it was mentioned earlier, is the Earth science, living Earth. Why is that not A through G? I don't get it.
Oh, the first level is kind of like at the general level it is right now. So our biology general class would be the living earth, and then you have a living earth CP would be like CP biology. Does that make sense?
Oh, yes.
Well, and that's our biology class. So essentially, the biology would turn into the living earth.
Is there a minus a lot component, is that why?
Yes. Well, and what I think you're referring to, Mr. Heverly, is earth science alone. So currently, earth science as a standalone class is not normally a D fulfillment for the UC system. It's an E, I believe it's an elective, I don't know what, G, maybe G. And what the teachers on the committee would like to see is that we turn our standalone earth and space science class, CP, into a D fulfillment.
Okay. Yeah, I would certainly like to see it, go to a through G. So, in a general sense, when we're talking about pathways, it was kind of like when we were talking about the new math pathways. And they changed the names from Algebra Geometry, Algebra 2 to Math 1, 2, 3. At that time, of course, this was a couple years back, my concern is does anybody outside of California understand what Math 1 means when they see it on the transcript? And hopefully that got resolved, but that the same thing holds true for this, is that I want to make sure that whatever's on that transcript, when the admissions people see this, they're scanning quickly and they're making sure things are checked off. If there's something that they don't understand, it's going in that pile. If it's very visible and they can see what it is, it goes in this pile. I just want to make sure ours always go in the good pile. So I'm glad you're working on that. The last thing is on pathways. It's not one size fits all. Yes?
Yes.
Oh, okay, very good. Because I want to make sure that we're not hamstringing kids, and it's not a big surprise if we know maybe they're not real strong academically, or they're not strong in math, or those kinds of things. So what I don't want us to do is not have a pathway for kids that's going to bury them, so that they get an F, so they've got to do it again, and they're suffering to try to get out of high school. So we do have that flexibility built into this. I love the nodding of heads. Thank you. That's the answer I'm looking for. And that's it. No, thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's really important. Thank you for your work.
Any other comments? Comments from the public?
Thank you, committee, great. Lots of work, lots of time has been put in by this group, I understand. I think some of the questions that the board members have brought up tonight are, have been discussions in the past, such as the articulation and how can we articulate and get confirmation from the CSU and UC system and other private schools that the names of courses are easily recognized and put in the correct pile as they go on. Because as you know, our students are competing with students in the other districts, and you know, all of those courses. Mr. Porter and I have children that loved science and worked hard in lots of science classes, and that accelerated program was great for them. It isn't for everyone, but we want to make sure that they have the opportunity to take those classes. I didn't hear tonight about credentials. Are any of these programs going to affect the teachers that we have and the credentials that they currently hold or need to change? I know there was some discussion early on about that.
No.
So we will have, all of the teachers that we currently have will be able to stay in these different course models?
Yes.
Okay,
The
thank
only
you.
issue would have been if we had gone to an integrated model, anyone on a, what's the specialized?
Right, but
That's why we do it.
Yeah, which is one of the reasons why we steered away.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? Welcome.
All right, welcome, thank you, Mr. Knackstadt and the board and Dr. Washer, and these people are phenomenal. I am a middle school science teacher, so what I do has to prepare my students for these people, and I bow to them because they're awesome. But my other question is in articulation and making sure that what we're doing is not only accepted by the UC and the CSU system, is we know that our population tends to be very mobile. They move around. So are we at all discussing this with other people like San Joaquin County, teachers throughout San Joaquin County, and maybe throughout the state to kind of see what they're doing and seeing if this is a pathway that's similar to what they're doing? Go ahead, Mike.
So to answer your question, I've actually gone to almost 4 NGSS rollouts done by the county, and these specific classes are actually the class names that the NGSS writers have recommended. Many schools in the area, including Lincoln, Elk Grove, Tracy, just to name a few, have all gone to this naming model. We've taken it and made it our own, but these course names are easily recognizable I would assume, both CSUs and UCs in California at least,
Great.
at the minimum.
That's what I want to hear. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? All right, thank you.
Great job.
Thank you.
Very much for your time.
Okay, that right there concludes the reports, and we're ready to start other action items. I might want to make a proposal that we change the order of events slightly. We have a lot of people in the audience that I know need to go to work tomorrow and are probably more interested in action items 7 through infinity. Is there any objections to starting those items first and then going back with action item 1? Can you get your slides ready to go? Let me know when you're ready. 7, action item number 7. And then some of the people that are in the audience can go watch cartoons or something when they get go home. Okay, action item number 7 is a motion to rescind. At the request of Board Member Porter, the board will consider whether to rescind its action on February 5th, 2019, which was action item number 3, to improve the management salary schedule effective July 1st, 2018. Ms. Porter, you're up.
I make the motion to rescind.
A motion has been made. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Is there any comments from the board?
Yes, I have a comment.
Okay.
Mr. President?
Yes.
At the February 5th meeting at Julia Morgan, there was confusion with me, and you have to help me here. I'm relatively new to the board. And I had papers that I had to sign in between the open and closed session. And later I was told those were contracts. Those were administrative contracts. And then I had planned to vote on LUSDAA and Mr. Khan and Dr. Washer's contract, vote no. It has nothing to do with those people at all. It has to do with what's becoming is an income discrepancy. Is that LEA pushes hard, bargains, and gets a percentage, and then through past experiences, past tradition, the board just passes that percentage on. Now, if you're a high wage earner, that 3% is 3.7 is pretty significant. If you're low, it's significant, but not as much. And what happens then is we start to see this wage discrepancy occurring between the teachers, custodials, and the administration. Now, when I started at Tokay, the written rule was the superintendent would make no more than double the top teacher. We currently now are moving towards, because of this practice, where an experienced high school teacher, experienced high school principal is almost making double the top teacher. I want you to think about that for a second. We moved that far since 1980. Now again, this isn't about people. It's about what's becoming an income inequality or a salary inequality, where the dollars are not adding up. So I wanted my vote to be no. My motion to rescind was brought because I was told later, with the help of counsel, legal counsel, that I wasn't handcuffed by that signature. And I was going to vote no on the items that I've already mentioned. Not because, again, of the people involved. We have outstanding administrators, superintendent, and the CBO. Because what I see is this growth occurring between the people that teach and work hard with their union dues and so forth to get a contract, and then everybody else just kind of tags along. And again, the everybody else has higher salaries, and they get more dollars than those at the lower areas. So, I would like the board to reconsider this. I would like my vote to be able to be changed to what I wanted it to be and be on the record, because I really feel that this is an important issue, one that we need to look at, and the gaps between income need to be put in categories so that the percentage between a top teacher and a top principal stays the same, even though the salaries might change, but that gap stays the same. And as you just read today, we have a pension crisis. So anyway, I'm hoping that the board will allow me to change my vote on items OAI 7, OAI 9.
Let's stay with OA 7 right now.
I'm sorry, OAI 9 and OAI 11. So
Again, let's stay with 7 first, and then we'll go to the other ones.
Thank you very much, Mr. Connexon. So, how does the rest of the board feel? I'll leave it up to you.
Any other comments from the board?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Neely.
Thank you, Mr. Connexon. I appreciate your reasoning. I don't agree with it, but I appreciate your reasoning.
The superintendent and I have been talking for a couple of years now on how the pay of our administrators compares to the pay of administrators in other districts. And she started commenting to me a while back that we were having a harder time attracting candidates for our positions. I always like to check things out. So I did some research, and there's a website called Transparent California. It's run by, and actually that's the name of the company as well. It's a nonprofit organization that lists pay for public employees all across the state. I mean, if you look at Stockton Unified on there, I just had to remember that one. There was 4,500 employees on there. So most of you are probably on there somewhere. You might want to check it out. It's kind of interesting. I took some notes. Can you bring that slide up? What I did is I compared the 5 largest school districts in San Joaquin County. And I just took comprehensive high school principals. And they had everybody listed, but it's a lot of work to find those figures, transfer them, copy and paste into an Excel spreadsheet, and then figure it out. And let's face it, I'm retired, all right? So I didn't have that much time. But I did take the average of the comprehensive high school principals. Nothing else, no other administrators besides our CBO and our superintendent. So if you could go to the first slide, please. This is a comparison. This is from the year 2017. The reason it's from 2017 is because these are actual figures. These aren't from salary scales. These aren't from anything like that. This is what they were actually paid. And so Transparent California collects this. By the way, if you go to their website, they're going to ask you for a donation because they are a nonprofit. I think I'm going to give them something because that's a lot of work. They don't only do school districts, they do counties, they do cities, they do everybody. So what I did is I took the districts, and this is how the pay is broken out up here. The end one over there is total pay and benefits. That's everything that somebody gets. Over here on the left-hand side, I put the district, and these are in order of the last column, but it also shows their attendance according to the California Department of Education. You can see that we rank last on that. In some cases, it's quite a difference. Now, Mr. Porter, I do appreciate your comments and also about our teachers. I do want to say that on this website, when you add benefits in, our top teachers' pay and benefits are around $125,000. So I don't think the discrepancy is there. Like if you just look at the pay scale itself, you'll notice that our administrators on the benefits side, we're lagging pretty far behind there. So, and the other part of this for me also is I don't want us to get back into that us versus them kind of thing. And I know you don't too. I understand. I know you don't. We have fought hard over the last several years to bring this district together and to get out of that mentality. Lodi Unified is making some incredible strides and improvements. It's because of all you out here. I mean, let's look at the RDEP. My gosh, that is just groundbreaking work between our teachers and our administrators. We're working on something right now through an innovation committee. It's kind of strange to have a committee on innovation, but we get together once a month and we talk about it. And we're looking at the way that Google does things and how most things are fixed by, like you people, instead of bringing it here. Decisions are made there. We're looking at that. So I think we need to do something about that the other way. And I'm sure that's going to come up after I've shown this slide. So
Let's take a look at the next slide. This is a CBO. I'm gonna do all three real quick, okay? I don't have to say anything. Okay, this is our chief business officer. You can see there. I do want to make it clear.
Yeah, to be consistent, yeah, we probably should.
You want me to do one at a time?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm fine with that. All right, I was just gonna try to get it. Okay.
Okay.
So,
We leave this, I'm sorry.
We're gonna
George,
do
you're
it
still
one
talking.
We're gonna do it one at a time.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, George.
no, that's fine. I'm fine. So anyway, those are my comments.
Okay. Hi, Mr. Connector.
Yes.
Just out of curiosity, Mr. Neely,
Mm-hmm.
how many of those districts are the benefits on the salary?
Well, you can kind of see it.
No. How many of those benefits?
Are on the salary?
In their salary?
I don't know. I really didn't go
Just part
for
of the
that.
retirement.
I went for the total pay and benefits. I know if they, even if you look over here at the regular pay, the only one that we're above is Lincoln, but then they get it in other pay. Now, the way I understand this is that pay is taxable and also personal. So you pay extra taxes on it now, you get back more later. I asked Mr. McKilligan about something like that today. I called him and I said, when was it that the benefits were put on the salary schedule? And you told me you thought about 2002. Does that sound about right?
I forget, it was during the time the superintendent had left, and they had an assistant superintendent who came in and did both jobs. Then Castaneda. Yeah, there we go.
No, I was here. I didn't come in 2001, and it was either at the end of that 2001 year or beginning of that 2002 year. Bill Hewitt was here, Lynn was my boss, but it was a big thing. A lot of the groups, employee groups, were considering it at the time. The only two groups that actually decided to go were confidential and administrators.
So I'm sorry, George, you still?
Sure.
Okay. So we do add the benefits onto their salary.
No, there is no additional compensation besides your salary.
Their health benefits are not added on their salary for administrators.
They were added in 2002. What you see there, that's it. That's their total compensation.
What I see in the far right?
Yes. Yes. That's why it's the same all the way across. No. It's not the same all the way across. So I don't know what the other.
What's that?
The benefits, I believe, in the benefits column are, for us anyway, those are not health benefits. Those are the other.
Your health benefits are a part of your package.
No. The cost of the benefit was added on in that 2001, 2002 year.
And subsequently, you just get raises under your salary?
Correct.
Correct. Which is a part of your health package.
George, if you could, just for me, the number on the salary schedule is what the administrator gets in their paycheck. There is no other pay. So I'm not quite sure what's represented there. The number on the salary schedule is what we get, that's it.
It depends on which of these you're talking about. This is salary schedule right here.
Okay.
Other pay are other things that also come out as pay, and they are taxable.
Okay, there is no other administrators. They're not allowed.
Right. So there's nothing here. So this is salary schedule. This item over here for everybody is a combination of the benefits they receive, such as health benefits, and it's also the STRS contribution as well.
The term for the other benefits are statutory.
Okay.
Thank you.
Boy, I wish I could have put together a PowerPoint. I didn't know that we were allowed to do that as board members. Interesting to know. Anyway, my motion's up and it's been seconded.
Okay, go.
Well, I echo what Mr. Porter has said. I would also like to say that we value the administrators. I value what Dr. Washer does. I would echo a reconsider of my vote. I feel we had a mishap in a procedural situation. This is in no way a reflection of my opinion of administrators or superintendents. I think they're amazing. But I do feel that when you're shuffled to sign something as a new board member, and then a vote is taken immediately following, and you're unclear I think it's my duty to make sure that my voice is heard and clarified. I think that as a board, we've learned some lessons here. I know I have learned some lessons here. If I have something that I'm questioning, I will do it in private session, and so I want to be respectful of the people that the reason I would like to have my vote rescinded, and it's in no way, shape, or form that I don't believe that the people that we're discussing or the jobs we're discussing are not entitled to something. While I appreciate the salary information, mine has to do with procedural. For my request to back Mr. Porter, I respect this, but mine has to do with how we handled the procedural portion of it, so.
Where are we? Okay, Mr. Hibley.
This question is for Dr. Washer. Previously, we've had board members that, after the fact, wanted to change their vote because sometimes it gets real confusing when you have a motion, you have an amended motion, and it sometimes goes back and forth, and if you don't restate the motion, sometimes you kind of go, well, what exactly, a yes means what, or a no means what? And that happened to a previous board member, and it was like, and they just wanted it to come back so that their vote was on record the way that board member felt they wanted it to be. And it was a really simple thing. It was just went on the agenda the next meeting at that board member's request for reconsideration. And I'm not sure why it's going through this whole process of rescind and then, so could you explain that?
Certainly. The process to rescind or change the vote is a two-step process. The board first has to approve revoting. So that's what this item is now that you're considering. If this item gets approved by the board, then you will move on to the next one, which is the revote of the previous item. If this item does not pass, then you do not vote on the next one. It simply stands as was the last meeting. And so you'll see that set for each one of the items.
So let's say other action item number 7, if the vote is to approve the motion to rescind in number 7, it in no way, shape, or form changes really anything from the previous vote.
Correct. It gives you permission
All it does
to
is
revote.
gives us permission for other board members to log the vote the way they wanted it to vote.
It gives you permission to revote, so any board member can vote differently.
Is that a correct statement? Actually, if we vote to rescind, it nullifies the earlier vote in Julie.
You have to vote again.
Correct. And like that's what I'm saying, is if we say...
It will nullify that vote, but we will start again.
Correct.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct. All that is allowing another vote so they can log it in the way they want. Okay, that's it. Okay.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Obviously, my career is in law, and I believe strongly in the First Amendment. And I may not agree with what you have to say, but I will fight to the death for your right to say it. And that's what I see this issue. If one of my colleagues, and I appreciate all my colleagues' comments, and I think these are important comments for everyone to be making. But if one of my colleagues feels like their vote is not properly reflected, then I am going to support the motion to rescind, even though I am not changing my vote as to the other items. Because it is that important to me that when we go on record that each individual votes their conscience, that their conscience is adequately reflected. So that is my intention. I am going to support the motion to rescind, even though I am not changing my vote as to the salary structures.
Any other comments? I do have one comment. You know, once upon a time when I was in LEA, And we would always have the comment that if you want to retain our good teachers, we need to pay them. The exact sentiment goes towards administrators. If you want to retain the good administrators that we have, we need to pay them. Even if you look at this first column, not worrying about the ancillary benefits, health benefits, telephone, or whatever it is, Lodi is not really the highest paying place to work. You might as well go to Manteca. Lincoln you can't count because it's only got 9,000 students. I mean, that's, that's nursery school compared to what Lodi Unified. All right, so we're not overpaying any of our folks, teachers, classified, or administrators. And to say that they're not worth 3.7% is a crying shame.
And Mr. President, I think you're putting the cart in front of the horse. I think the procedural issue right now is whether or not one of our board members feels like his vote is not properly reflected on that. And whether or not our administrators are being paid enough or not paid enough, that's the secondary issue that is contained in OIA 8. And so that is why I'm supporting OIA 7 at this time.
Very well put.
Can I say something on that? I'm sorry, I disagree with the two of you on that, because I think that as a board, once we give our word on something and our vote is our word, then we stick by it. There's plenty of opportunity to have investigated that vote early. And I think at this point, I mean, you see what all these administrators out here? This is not something that's out there. This is not something they realize. I mean, I started getting calls about this immediately. I think that we as a board we have an integrity issue if we don't stand by our vote. So that's why I will be voting against.
Mr. Chairman, I agree with Mr. Neely. As a tenured teacher, I've been through 15 principals. And I tell you what, those guys work 24/7. They don't get paid enough. I don't care what their salaries are. They can get more than I can as a teacher. I'm a teacher, and I was pretty based on it. And like I said, I agree that administrators should get the same pay that the other people get, and I will vote not to resent this.
I can understand and Mr. Frase's comments, and it makes sense, but I lean more towards Mr. Neely's eloquent response.
I have a question.
Yes, sir. Yes,
I
ma'am.
think we're confusing this
Yeah, we
just a
are.
little bit. I don't, from my perspective, and that's all I can speak to, I have never said that the administrators or the superintendent, this is not a financial issue for me. This is a procedural mishap. And so I think when we're trying to overlap and put those two together, we're misconstruing what my reconsider of my vote means. I'm not here to say that they're not entitled to it, or that they need more money, or that I don't think they're worthy of a pay raise. That's not what my position is. My position is that there was a mishap. It was discussed. I would like the opportunity to rescind my vote. It's not whether or not I feel someone's entitled to something, and I take a little bit of offense to that we're trying to overlap those two issues. And I think trying to overlap them is almost a little bit disrespectful to the administrators, because that's not the point that I'm trying to make. I'm talking about procedure, not salary.
Yeah, I understand that also, but my guess is that most administrators would take this somewhat personal. Okay, we're done with the discussion. Does the public get a weigh in on this?
Yes, it is an action item, so you,
Okay.
public comment and also student.
Public comment, if any. Okay, do students get a comment on this one?
They can vote.
Okay, look, any student comment? Or do you want to stay clear away from this?
We'll vote.
Okay. All right, student vote then. Nay?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, call for the board vote. Let's see, I forgot who made the motion. Mr. Porter made the motion and Farland, okay.
Okay, and a yes vote rescinds.
And a yes vote rescinds it, and a no vote leaves it the way it is.
Correct.
Okay. So my cord isn't working. There we go. Okay, what do we have? Okay, it is in fact 4-3, so the motion passed. Okay, so now that means we're going to go on to action item number 8.
Mr. President,
Yes,
move that we approve action item 8.
Second.
okay. We have a first and a second. First by Mr. Neely, second by Mr. Nava. And this is to improve the management salary schedule as was discussed, I guess, 2 months ago?
The date is on here.
February
5th.
Oh, come on, oh, it's not on mine. Okay. Okay, on February 5th. Any board discussion?
Mr. President?
Yes.
One of the reasons I joined the board is because it was being a parent watching my kids go through Lodi Unified. And the administrators that I came in contact are absolutely amazing. I think at the end of the day, when I saw Mr. Sandstrom, starting at 6 o'clock in the morning and being there at the football game at 11 o'clock at night, we figured out we're probably paying them about 15 cents an hour. And I can't thank them enough for the great job they have. So I am going to be supporting the raises to the salary schedule. And thank the administrators for the amazing job that they do.
Any other board comments? Comments from the public? Comments from students?
This is to vote yes or no on salary increase?
Yep.
Okay, I'd just like to say, my vote doesn't reflect how, just their pay, but I do respect how Mr. Sandstrom comes out to all of our events. I see him there. He's, like you said, there at 6 a.m., there to the end of the game. He always cleans up everything. So just like to acknowledge that.
Any other comments? All right, board vote then. Oh yeah, student vote, I'm sorry.
Nay.
Aye.
Okay, and board vote. So just to be clear, please, a yes vote.
A yes vote will approve the salary increase of 3.7.
And a no vote.
No vote will mean no increase.
It goes back to the table or whatever, I guess. Or just no vote. Okay. And it does pass 5-2. Okay, the administrators are off the hook and go home. But we got a couple more to go.
We got some more to go.
We might want to stay and see the action. Okay, we're moving on to number 9. Other action item number 9, motion to rescind at the request of board member Porter. The board will consider whether to rescind its action on February 5th, 2019, which was on other action item number 6, to amend the chief business officer's employment contract commencing July 1st, 2018.
Motion to rescind, please.
So you're making the motion, okay?
Yes.
Is there a second for that?
I'll second.
Okay, so we do have a first and second. Comments from the board?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I got kind of caught up in the little PowerPoint and the numbers, and that wasn't my point. As I said earlier, when I went in February 5th, I was felt the procedure was not followed. Well, maybe it was followed, but was done kind of in a quick fashion for a new board member to deal with. And as with LUSDAA and Mr. Khan, this is not a reflection of their salaries. It's a reflection of, as everybody's been saying, procedure. And I want my vote to be cast correctly. I'm not here after anybody's salary, nor do I see anybody get a reduction in salary. But what I'm after is making sure that my vote is correct, the way that I wanted to going into February 5th. I go through the whole agenda, I go through every item and mark down what I want to do. And on those 3 items, I wanted to vote no. So that is my discussion.
Any other comments? Public? Any comments from public? Student comments? Okay. And I'm going to call for the vote. All right, so this is action item number 9. The motion is to rescind. A yes vote would mean that we start all over again, I guess. A no vote means we keep it as it originally was back in 2 months ago. Okay? Board vote.
Student vote.
Oh, student vote, yeah, I'm sorry.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, this passes 4-3. So we're good. We're good. Okay, so that we're moving on to action item 11. What? Oh, no, you go. Oh, sorry.
The rescinding was approved, so now you
Oh, okay.
revote.
Second.
Okay, so I have Mr. Nava moving it, and who was Neely? Seconded it. Okay, discussion from the board?
I just want to clear up some things that I heard. Actually, Mr. Khan started with us in 2000, I think it was July 1, 2017, is that correct? There was a pay raise after that, and Mr. Khan was not included in that, either that going in. So after the full year, he would be participating in this pay raise, which is nothing more than 3.7% that everybody gets. I want to, Mr. Khan also, if you do the analysis of the 5 largest districts again, we can go ahead and put that up. You'll see that he is, we're 4th out of the 5 top districts as well. You know, all districts don't get the same amount of money. You know, that's not the case. Stockton Unified actually gets, per student, more than we do. Tracy and Manteca, I actually believe, get less per student. I know Lincoln does than we do. Is that accurate, Mr. Khan? Because of the percentage of free and reduced lunch. So you can see that those districts that get paid less per student have smaller, actually pay their CBO a little bit more. Since this is the time to talk about this, I don't think that, I think that Mr. Khan does an excellent job. He does, and you know what, I really can't even, I'm having a hard time, I'm sorry, comprehending what he's talking about, so I'm going to end it right there. Something else I don't want to say.
Any other comments?
Yes, I do. Again, let's not confuse everything. This is simply to allow a board member to vote the way they want to vote. This should not take this long.
Well, if you're, excuse me, but if you're, but if you're talking about people's pay, then what else is it but about them?
Okay. It is not about the work that they do. How many times does somebody have to say it? All this is a procedure to allow a board member to vote differently, period.
No, that's not what it is. That's what it was. That's what it was, Mr. Heverly. It
If you
was.
look at the
Wait,
final
excuse me,
vote-
let me finish, please. We rescinded it. It's been rescinded. Now there's nothing. Okay, isn't that right?
Give it a minute and you'll see
Well,
what happens.
that's why my comments are relevant at this time, because we're talking about a pay raise for an individual. I mean, isn't that?
Do we have a motion on the table?
Let's go.
Mr. Nutt?
Let's go.
Any other comments? Any public comments? Student comments? Student vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, board vote. A yes vote means that we give the CBO the pay that we originally said we're going to give it. correct?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, passes 5-2. Okay. And one more. This one is action item 11. It's a motion to rescind at the request of Board Member Porter. The board will consider whether to rescind its action on February 5th on item AOI-7 to amend the superintendent's employment contract commencing July 1st, 2018. Again, Mr. Porter, I would assume it's the same conversation?
No.
Oh, different, okay.
Earlier I heard the word integrity, and Mr. Freitas talked about First Amendment. I should be able to vote the way that I want to. I was handcuffed, I thought at the time. Legal counsel told me that I didn't have to do that at the February 5th meeting. I also appreciate all the board members understanding why we're going through this evening, to allow me to express myself the way that I wanted to be. I was new, won't happen again in terms of how these contracts come out. I'll make sure that I do everything that I'm supposed to do, even make things slower. But I appreciate them allowing me to stand with my vote, and with that, provide me with the integrity that I'd like to have. And that's why I'm going through the motions of these 3 items.
Any comments? Public comments? Student comments?
Wait.
Did I miss something?
Second.
I heard a wait, so I don't know what that meant. Okay. Okay. Do we have a motion to rescind? Do we have a second?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. McFarland did second. So we got Porter, McFarland. Okay. Student vote?
Aye.
Aye.
And board vote. A yes vote will rescind it. A no vote will not rescind the original vote.
Oh shit, I voted wrong. Clear.
Motion to rescind, motion to rescind.
We got a little heat going on.
Are we gonna vote again here?
You know, Courtney.
So again,
Wait, no, I almost did the same thing. We wouldn't notify each other.
yeah.
Well, I've got a little, blood pressure's up a little bit, and I'm ready to go to action. I feel like I'm getting ready to coach again.
We get a 7th inning stretch. Okay, we ready to vote?
Yeah. Voted right. It's getting
Motion to
confusion.
rescind, not everybody's voting.
Really. Okay, so it did pass this time, 4-3, which means
We go to 12.
now we go to 12, which is an approval of the amendment to superintendent's employment
Chairman,
contract.
I move we approve number 12.
Okay.
Second.
Again.
Nava moved and Freitas second. Any board comments?
Yeah, Mr. President, I appreciate all the comments from all my colleagues and Mr. Neely's research into the superintendents. And I also believe that this is a board, an honorable board, and that's why we're going through this process. And it's very clear in the CBOs and in the superintendent's contract that this is what this board has promised that they would do. So I am supporting the measure to approve the new contract for the superintendent, because we are an honorable board. So.
Thanks, sir. Any other comments?
Comment.
Mr. Headley.
Just like in February, when we voted on this originally, I did vote no on this enhancement to the contract. And I'm going to say it again, so hopefully everybody gets it. This is not a reflection of the individual. It is a reflection of the position. The discrepancy between the classifications is, in my opinion, and it's okay to have opinions, is just it's spread too far. And that's why I voted no then, and why I will be voting now, non-personal, hopefully. We've talked many times. So she knows I support her.
Any other comments from the board or the public?
Mr. President?
Yes.
I'm going to be voting yes, of course. And the reason is because I've done the research on this one as well. Don't put it up. This was really embarrassing. Well, we can't afford to pay people what we should be paying them. That goes across this district. What we try to do is we try to strike some kind of level field with the competition that's out there. Lodi Unified can't be the highest pay. We're not. We're competitively. We pay competitively. So what we have to do is we have to take these positions and make it a good place to work for other reasons. I've already told you about what each of the districts gets paid from the state. That's capped. There's not much else we can do on that. You can affect the number of people you have, which affects, of course, your class size or your support. But whatever you do, you got to do it within a certain means. Our superintendent is fourth out of the top 5 paying, or top 5 districts in the county. And she's incredibly close to the 5th, which is Lincoln, which only has a third of the students and not near the issues with Title I and things like that we have. She's been with us for 10 years now, at which time she could have gone someplace else. She certainly has some credentials for it. So I think we need to show the support for our people by letting them all know that they all deserve more pay. I wish we could do more than just 3.7% for everybody, but that's all we can do. I'm going to be voting yes on this.
Okay. I 100% agree with you, Mr. Neely. Again, all employees in this district play an important role in educating our students, from the bus drivers, the custodians, cooks, teachers, administrators, and Dr. Washer, who I emphatically support. So I'll be voting yes also. So, student vote.
Aye.
Nay.
Okay. Call for the board vote. Again, a yes supports the contract for Dr. Washer, and a no vote does not. I said that right, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Okay. Passes 4-3. And with that, we're done with the tension. So, are you all leaving now?
Mr. President.
Yes.
Before everybody leaves, I'd like to apologize to Mr. Neely for jumping in and opening my mouth while he was in the middle of his comments. And everybody has a right to make their comments and say their piece, so sorry.
We're just brothers by a different mother, man, so don't worry about it.
All right.
So, of course, it looks like Mr. Palmquist is going to stick around, Mr. McKilligan, Mr. McCutcheon, so sorry, you're still with us. But what I would like to do is, we're getting real close to 9 o'clock, I'd like to let the student board members give their presentations, and then we'll pick up where we left off.
Mr. President, I did get a message that Bear Creek did lose tonight by 9 points. I've been
9 points?
Yeah, they lost by 9. They were down by 11 at half. They were up by 1 first quarter, down by 11 at the half, down by 11 at third quarter, and lost by 9.
Well, my guess is they did that with class. They're really a class team. Okay, student reports. Who wants to go first?
Do you want me to go first? I'll go
Sure.
first. Good evening, President Knackstead, members of the board, and Dr. Washer. My name is Jonathan Henry, and I will be giving Tokay's school report. Activities at Tokay. We had our Electric Jungle dance on February 15th. This was a neon dance in our school gym. It was meant to be more casual than something from Pigskin or prom. Tickets were $3, so it was cheap to go to. It was just like a simple DJ, just quick decorations, and we had almost 300 students attend, and it was a great event, but it was very laid back and not expensive, just something fun and safe kids can go do on a Friday night. We had a Spirit Week from February 11th to 15th. This was our Versus Week. We also had a Boys vs. Girl Rally on February 14th. This is an annual rally we have. This year there was a painting contest, shuffleboard, bomber ball, trivia, and live Mario Kart. Although our rally was cut short due to a stink bomb thrown, and our admin thought for safety reasons they had to cut it short. We had our What's Great About Tokay trip to Lodi Middle on February 20th. This is where the students from Tokay go to Lodi Middle to tell the 8th graders and 7th graders about our classes, activities, sports on campus, and there's also a club rush at their lunch after. We had our 8th grade parent night on February 12th. This is an opportunity for parents to get to know the curriculum at Tokay and ask questions about our classes and clubs. Tokay Ag had a Spirit Week from February 25th to March 1st, and they had a petting zoo at both lunches, which included rabbits, goats, sheep, chickens, and a pony.
And a pony?
Yep. All right. We have booked a hypnotist with some money from our senior account for April 10th. This is during testing. It's extra money we had in our account from prom this year, and it's just a way to treat the seniors before we head off to college. For academic, Tokay Science Olympiad took 2nd, 3rd, and 8th at the county regional event, with our varsity team advancing to states. And as I said earlier, the Tokay Science Bowl, coached by Ron Heberly's wife, took 2nd at the regional tournament and losing by only the tiebreaker question. AP test signups ended last Friday. In athletics, our boys soccer are league champions, and I'd like to recognize our girls wrestling, who were also league champions. They were section champions. We also had 3 girls place at Masters and advance to states, where they made it to day 2 but were knocked out. Our cheer tryout started today, and the finalists will be announced on Friday. And spring sports have begun practicing at Tokay. And that's school report.
Okay, thank you.
Jonathan, I have a question. Good report, thank you. When you send students to Lodi Middle School, is that your student government, or which group is that?
This is a variety of groups. So I actually represented student gov, but we have like MCs, we have our ag department come, we have each club, whoever wants to come can go, and they send 2 representatives to talk on their behalf. So we had robotics, we had GSA, we have NHS, CSF, ag, all those clubs go, plus sports, and her daughter even talked about water polo, everything.
That's a great thing for 8th graders, and I know other campuses do the same, and that's a wonderful idea.
It's a club, and they have a club rush at lunch after where they ask questions. I had lots of kids come up to me and talk to me and like kind of get like out their jitters and their fears about high school.
Good deal, thank you.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Jonathan, will you thank the Tokay High FFA team for going to Ag Venture? They were there, the Lodi High group, FFA was also there. They had live animals for the 3rd graders. They look up to you high schoolers like you all can't believe. And that we have our students teaching our younger students has always been a goal of this board, and I saw it in action today and it was very impressive. So thank you very much, and be sure to extend the board's thanks to them.
Will do.
All right. Also, it's coming down to the wire. Have you accepted a college yet? How's it going?
Not yet. I'm hopefully waiting on Stanford. I had an interview with them, so fingers crossed. But so far I've been accepted to just my backups like UOP, Sonoma, Humboldt.
All those schools.
And what major are you looking for
Chem major, pharmaceuticals.
Okay, well, I think there's a board member that knows something about Stanford, so you might be able to put a good word for you. Very good. We'll be sure to let us know how it's going.
All right, definitely.
Very good.
All right, any other comments? All right. Ms. Townsend, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Knaxted, Superintendent Dr. Washer, and members of the board. I am Alicia Townsend, the ASB president of McNair High School, and I'd like to share our report. Mr. Neely, I remember you asking me earlier in the school year how our choir was holding up. McNair's choir is doing amazing. I know losing Miss Peeps, things were kind of iffy at first with the long-term subs, but our new teacher, Mr. B, he's been teaching us really good. We've been putting on some pretty remarkable performances, including our Valentine's Singing Grams, which was a fundraiser for choir where we went around singing to classes. We had a field trip to Delta College where we were critiqued by judges, and we also had a performance at McNair during school hours. We had an assembly, and people from 4th period classes, they came and watched, and we got a lot of great compliments. Student government, we are planning our talent show, which is actually tomorrow at 6:30 at McNair. You guys are all welcome to come, and feel free to see some real talent. We are currently planning our multicultural rally. We plan on having different performances from a broad perspective of students throughout campus. In honor of Black History Month, McNair's Girls Club hosted our Black History Empowerment Assembly. We had inspirational speakers and student performances. McNair just started up a step team, and we had our very first performance at this assembly. For special students and staff recognitions, a good friend of mine, Wei Chen, he actually got a full ride scholarship to Princeton, so I just wanted to make sure everyone knew that. I also wanted to give a shout out to McNair's competitive stunt team. First one. Beat that. As I was telling Jonathan earlier, Tokay is very lucky McNair was busy competing in the events at the Mesa Day competition. We had a first, second, and third place sweep in the right turn glider competition and took second and third in the escape room challenge in the upper level division. Our lower division took second and third in the right turn glider competition, and we also took second and third in the college poster board competition. I just want to give a shout out to McNair's lunch ladies for recognition of having the best food in LUSD. Student government is currently working on ways to recognize them school-wide. We're promoting Race to Breakfast, encouraging students to not only get school breakfast, but to take pictures with the lunch ladies in a photo booth we have set up in the cafeteria, just to recognize them as much as possible. For academics, AP testing is coming up, and our counselors have this sort of new program where they help pay the cost for students who are planning on not taking the AP test because they can't afford it, so yeah, it's really good. For upcoming events and activity, our junior class is currently planning our prom, which is going to be at the Waterfront Hotel with the possibly gala theme. It's kind of different. Typically, the seniors play a part in planning the senior prom, but this year we're changing it, and it's all up to the juniors to plan it for us. So we'll see how that goes. Me and Jonathan were actually talking about McNair and Tokay having a powder puff football game against each other for the girls as an opener for Tokay's new football field. So we'll see how that goes later on. And that concludes my student report.
Thank you. Any comments?
Alicia, how about that lean crew, right? They had the students over from Moraga Junior High,
Yeah.
and how'd that turn out?
It was pretty cool. Like, they got to see what McNair was like, how the campus was like being a high schooler. Yeah.
Very good. Well, that's, again, we have our students teaching our students, and I think that helping each other is what we're striving for throughout the district. So thank you for doing that. If we go to the talent show tomorrow, will you be performing?
No, I won't. You see, I was going to because I sing, but just didn't have enough time.
And how is your college applications going?
It's going pretty good. I've gotten 9 acceptances so far. My best one has been from UC Santa Barbara. I had an interview with Harvard about a month ago, so I'm really waiting on that one to see how it goes. Yeah, I'm just waiting on scholarships and see how it works out.
Well, that's absolutely outstanding. So anyway, thank you for an excellent report, both of you.
All right. Any other comments?
And we also realize that time is valuable, so if you don't want to stay for the rest of the meeting, our feelings won't be hurt.
Mine might be, but it's okay.
And if that Powerpuff game goes, you be sure to shoot us an email and let us know. So we'll definitely get over to that.
I like the friendly competition jousting.
Okay, we're going to continue with other action items, starting at the top. Number 1, second interim financial report from Mr. Khan.
Thank you, President Knackstead, members of the board, Dr. Washer. Before you is again another positive certification to approve. There are several items. I won't go through the entire thing, but I will reference items from the board, the executive summary provided to the board. Perhaps one item to keep closest attention to is we are declining in enrollment. This is the first decline in several years. It's not, I think, anything to start banging the drum about yet, but that said, it is a decline, and if it continues, then it will have an impact on revenue. A second revenue item is that as we continue to be successful in our LCAP process, specifically as we continue to RFEP the ELs, and after their 2-year monitoring period, they move out of the unduplicated count. We will start to see declines in supplemental and concentration monies. To it, there's a little better than 800,000 in projected supplemental and concentration decline in the 18-19 school year. The board will notice that we are projecting at second interim an operating deficit, a true operating deficit, whereby our revenue doesn't cover our 1 through 7 object codes. That said, we discussed today the science, the next-gen science adoption. I mentioned that between their restricted lottery and their general fund resources, 0344 resource, there's $4.5 million in there. I'm not at this time believing that all of it will be spent this year. And I do, at this point, expect that operating deficit to disappear by the time we close out. But the decline in ending fund balance, which the board was particularly focused on in the early part of this school year, will continue. So we ended last year with 64 million. We do expect to drop that number closer to 60 million by the end of the school year. And then, of course, we have expenditures that we'll be paying for out of the assignments, like one of the largest will be the Houston Cerna relocation. So that will eat up some of the ending balances. Back to the instructional materials, I will reiterate that I think I said this earlier, there's a $2 million reserve that we maintain for them every single year. So we think somewhere in the neighborhood of $4 to $5 million a year is good for instructional materials and adoptions. That is what's projected as a budget item for instructional materials for the next 2 years. I would like to thank profusely Jonathan Martin and his team. The board was keenly focused on special ed in October of 2017. While their costs are growing, a good portion of their cost increase is due to the raise. So their costs are projected to be up 4.8% this year. Not only is 3% of that completely due to the raise, but that 4.8% growth is below the general fund unrestricted growth level, and also below the revenue growth level for this year. So they've done an extremely good job. I think those are really the most salient things to focus on in the executive summary, but I'd be happy to answer.
Okay, so we're at board comments, and board, keep in mind it's almost quarter after. We have a long ways to go. Any board comments? Comments from the public?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve this 2018-19 second interim financial report.
Thank you. Okay, and Mr. Hibley. So it's been first and seconded, first by Mr. Nava, second by Mr. Hibley, that we approve this report. We don't have any students vote, so we're at board vote. No, one's blank. Oh, wait a minute. There it is. And it passes 7-0. Thank you, sir. Let's go on. Mr. Conn, you're up again with our staff presentation of the one-time monies.
Thank you, President Knackstead, members of the board, Dr. Washer, for return for the third time in the last 3 meetings. For approval this time is the staff recommendation for a one-time money.
Okay. Any comments from the board?
Yeah.
Yes.
You do have, we're still with the the robotics. Is that correct? And we're still doing RBIT?
Yes, sir.
And these are ones that are reoccurring monies?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I will be voting no because of that, not because of the quality of the program, but I think we should take the hit now instead of kicking the can down the road.
Any other comments? If it would make you feel any better, Ms. Porter, sometimes this might be called startup money. And all businesses, everything has to have some seed money to get started. If it doesn't work out, then you stop having that business. So I wouldn't necessarily look at this. I guess one-time monies, I believe, is a term that you use as a code. Is that right? Or no? I don't know. Okay.
It's one
okay.
time. It's
Anyway,
money that doesn't.
I'm looking at it as a startup money, and so I will be voting to approve this.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve this one-time money.
Okay. Second. Mr. Nava first and Mr. Neely seconded. That we approve item OA2.
Public comment.
Oh, okay. Public comment?
Public.
To make sure that I'm on the right page as to which one we're looking at there. The recommendation is with the 30% going to RBET with the first line. Is that correct? Through the chair to Mr. Khan.
Yes.
Okay. We would, again, ongoing costs for ongoing, people costs such as RBET, we'd like to see budgeted in the LCAP we think is appropriate. We understand Valley Robotics, that is a startup, that is a one-time fee getting started. That isn't taking personnel costs into that, correct?
I believe it could very well be used to pay for the initial year's cost or partial year's cost
For personnel?
administrators or.
And teachers? Okay, well, we'd like to raise our projection for ongoing money for personnel costs for one time.
Thank you. Yes.
Mr. Khan, when I look at the extended, or the next sheet on the one-time monies for the Valley Robotics, I have a couple of questions. I noticed that we have 5 teachers slated, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and so if we're looking at 90 students, now correct me if I'm wrong, we're talking about an 18-to-1, 18 students to 1 teacher, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so in looking at that, that's a phenomenal ratio teacher to student, and I would love to see that in a math or an English class or a history class. And so that concerns me that we also have an administrator, we also have a principal secretary and a 0.25 custodian on that. While I back the robotics in the concept, this worries me that we're maybe negating our other subjects with an 18-to-1 ratio, because I think if you talk to any math teacher or English teacher, they would love an 18-to-1 student ratio.
I don't think the program's designed at 18-to-1. It's just a budget number. It's a guess as to what a conservative.
Well, if we're talking about 90 students the first year, that is, am I correct in assuming that's
Fellow members of the board, if I could interject, we don't know how many students we're gonna, we would love to get more than that.
Okay.
But that is just somewhere to start for us to put something down on paper.
So, okay, that's someplace to start and put it on paper. What does that do to our numbers if, say, we end up with 250 students?
You'll need more teachers.
Which means more money,
Yes, ma'am.
which means more custodial staff, which means more supplies, which means more.
But the 250 students would be generating their own revenue at that point as well.
Through ADA.
Thank you.
Those concerns are sort of the same types of concerns that I brought up with the Houston school thing. We're spending $5 million or $4 million, I guess, to take portable over there for, what, 50 kids? You're right, but sometimes you do what you got to do to put on the program.
Correct, Mr. President. So how do I vote yes on this? But yet vote yes for one of those country schools to close if I'm giving this.
You did vote for them to close.
No, I'm just saying, how do I justify an administrator for 90 students, estimated 90 students, but yet explain that to a group of people that, with their administrator, I'm just comparing. Food for thought.
Any other comments?
Yes.
Okay, Evelyn?
On the Valley Robotics startup, it says 2 million. It's 1 million first year, 500,000, 500,000. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So it's really 2019 to 2021, 22.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Oh, I'm done. Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay, any other comments?
What? I put my paper away.
All right. Okay, we do have a first and a second, Mr., I believe, do not? Mr. Nave, what? Who was it? Oh, Neely. Okay, and Mr. Neely. Can't read my own handwriting. Okay. No students, so the board vote, please. Motion passes 4-3. All right, moving on to, speaking of Valley Robotics, moving on to number 3, approval of memorandum of understanding between Lodi Unified School District and San Joaquin Delta College for Valley Robotics Academy. Mr. Palmquist.
Thank you, President Kenexted, members of the board, Dr. Washer. For your consideration is a memorandum of understanding that has been approved by our committee from a draft state and has also undergone department review here at the district office. And for your approval is this memorandum of understanding.
Okay. Questions from the board?
Question.
Okay.
So from, in my realm, MOU is a contract. So if we approve this, and because actually we have not, as a board, officially said yes to the Valley Robotics Academy. Is that correct, Dr. Washer?
That is correct up until this point, however, you just funded it, and this would give the yes. This would be the board saying, yes, we're doing this, if you approve the MOU, because that is a contract with Delta College.
Okay, all along we've been asking for, we've just been going, hey, let's look at it, and so on and so forth. Okay, I hear you. Never mind.
Any other comments?
No, I just think the committee covered this thoroughly, right? And so that's what they recommend, so.
So by voting yes on this, we're saying yes, we're going to do it, 100%, go for it, no matter what.
That is correct, Mr. Heberlin, members of the board. When we first brought this up, we did mention that this was going to be a fast-paced kind of a project because of the timing, and that the MOU was that critical piece because that meant that Delta College was on board and that would be the go. So we do understand that this was very quick. We tried to bring some reports as soon as we had information, but yes, this went fast. We do acknowledge that.
Yeah, I really appreciate the work that's gone into this, and the board has supported this pretty much wholeheartedly throughout this process. And so I think it's time to get it done.
Mr. Conexon?
Yes, sir.
Comment, please.
Yes.
This MOU went in front of the Delta College Board already, didn't it?
Delta College's board has seen, I believe it's this version. I do know that their administration, I think their process is a little different. I have confirmation from their administration that this MOU is approved by them. I don't have minutes of that meeting. I don't have.
Okay, I'm just asking.
Yeah, my understanding is Delta College's administration's approved this.
Has the board approved it?
I believe so.
It was supposed to go in front of them before it came to us, was my understanding.
Well, in talking to them, they believe that they got what they needed from their board when they did an initial presentation, that they are able to enter into the MOU.
Okay.
And so they have what they need from their board to move forward with this,
Okay.
is my understanding.
And I just want to make it clear, one of the reasons that we are moving kind of quickly on this, we have the support of Delta College right now. There's going to be a change in leadership at Delta College. We don't know how that will work. The administration there seems to very much support this. And also, I was going to ask if there is a chance that our middle college students could participate in some of the classes out at Delta College as a, elective.
I'm not aware of anything in the MOU or anything we've discussed that would preclude that. Okay. That hasn't been something we've expressly talked about. One of the things in the board report from a couple of weeks ago was that Delta College was willing to create what's called a cohort,
right,
which is just for our students, but I don't know why that would expressly limit it just to Valley Robotics.
Could be any of our students.
Could be.
Okay, all right, cool. I like it.
Okay, any?
Mr. President?
Yes.
So, one of the reasons we're moving this fast is a yes vote tonight means that we can have students in these classrooms in August, right?
Correct. The yes vote tonight allows us to continue to move forward. There are a number of things that need to happen to establish a school, and some of those things need to reflect board approval, board minutes, and so, you know, we've had the timeline we presented before led us to this juncture where an MOU is needed so that we can move forward with staffing. We can move forward with CDS codes. I've been working with the state, as have many of my colleagues, to take those next steps. But this is the juncture where we need to go one way or another to make that happen.
And by voting yes tonight, students can be in those classrooms in August.
They can.
Well, so we put our money where our mouth is. We funded this, so now it's just time to pull the ripcord and let her rip and get this thing done. So
there's still a lot of work to do, but absolutely it is possible.
And you know what? We really appreciate your hard work on this, Jeff, and bring this to us and moving at this lightning pace. But this is really, really exciting that we're not just talking about getting this done. We are getting this done, and kids are going to be learning this come August, if we have anything to say about it. So anyway, thank you.
You know, we talk about being proactive on things like this, Valley Robotic Academy, the Green Academy at one time, 10 years ago, that didn't come through. This is really a process, Jeff, that has taken a short period of time, but I think it will be successful. Therefore, I move that we approve this memorandum of understanding for the Valley Robotic Academy.
Second.
All right. Is there any public comment?
You think with the committee meeting and this, I think rushed, as some said, has been very thorough in development, and we look forward to developing MOUs so that our teachers can get into this program next.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, I'm calling for the board vote then. Did you get the first and second? Yes. Okay. Okay, the motion passes 6-1. All right, good. Item 4, ratification of a tentative agreement between the Lodi People Personnel Association. Mr. McKilligan is AO. AWOL?
The agreement is presented for your approval.
Okay.
Good job.
Mr. Chairman,
We're gonna move you away from him.
I move we approve this LPPA tentative agreement.
Second, where's Mr. Hall?
I'm here to represent LPPA tonight.
Okay, okay, hang on. Okay. Any board comments? Okay, public comments.
Because you asked.
It's like a raffle, you need to be present to win.
Right? Well, Mr. Hunt sends his apologies. He's very ill, and he showed up to our LPPAE board meeting in sweats, and we sent him home. So my name is Liz Engelbrich. I'm a speech language pathologist for the district. It's good to see you all again. We do hope that you pass the tentative agreement for our COLA salary raise retro and then moving forward as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, I'm call for the board vote on item 4. My mouse is not working well. Okay, this passes 7-0. Well, okay, item 5, plan for a low-performing student block grant. Ms. Katowski, you're up again.
I'm going to stay on this time because it should be short and sweet.
You've been doing very well in your executive summaries.
Thank you very much.
That will do it. The state of California has given us some one-time funds that we have for the next several years for students that don't fit into our LCAP identified groups, so non-English learners, non-low-income students who are still not being successful on the SBAC assessments in English Language Arts and Mathematics. And so they gave us some additional funds for those specific students to help them reach proficiency. And they have identified about 666 kids in our district. So that is 3 through 12, so that manages almost every school in this district with different numbers of students. And so I'm just presenting to you the plan of how we choose to want to spend these funds.
Okay. Any comments from the board? Comments from the public? Okay.
Well, it's great that we're getting some money, huh? 1.24.
Yes.
50823.
You have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, Ms. Porter, Ms. Nava.
Who's the second?
Mr. Nava was, Mr. Porter, motion to approve, and Mr. Nava seconded. There's no students, so I'm going to call for the board vote on number 5. Passes 7-0. Okay, item number 6, again, Mr. Khan. This is a master agreement between the district and the California Department of Transportation.
Thank you, President Knackstead, members of the board, Dr. Washer. This is a resolution authorizing the master agreement between Lodi Unified School District and California Department of Transportation, also authorizing superintendent and CPO to effect any documents between us and CDOT. It will be a 50-50 match on about $1,071,000 worth of compressed natural gas buses.
Okay. Any comments, questions? Yes?
Do we have a natural gas fueling site here?
We do, and our Director of Transportation was also responsible for obtaining all the funding to develop that.
Oh, good.
as well.
Outstanding. Good.
We already have some natural gas buses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many?
I'm sorry, I don't have the exact number,
About
but
10.
they outnumber our
At
diesel
least
buses
10.
right now.
Do we have drivers?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve this grant for
I second.
Okay, Mr. Nava first moved it, and Ms. McFarland second. All right, she was faster? Okay. She was. Hey. Okay, so any comments from the public? Okay, I'm going to call for the vote then. It passes 7-0. Skipping all the way over to OA 13. We are moving pretty quickly now. Mr. Khan, you're up again on the development fee report.
Thank you. President Conexta, members of the board, Dr. Washer. Before the board is for approval is the annual development fee report. I will note that the board is probably aware that we are actively analyzing real property acquisitions throughout the North Stockton area at this time. They do not appear on this report, as this is the 17-18 report. However, the board can expect them to be identified in the 18.
Questions? Public comments?
Being no financial impact, Mr. Chairman, I move we approve this development fee annual report.
Thank you, sir. Any second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Nava made a motion to approve it. Mr. Porter seconded it. No student vote. Calling for the board vote. And it passes 7-0. And the last action item is number 14, AB 1200, documents for Lodi Unified School District's employee group, LPPA. Mr. Khan.
Thank you, Mr. Conexta, President Conexta, members of the board, Dr. Washer. Before the board for approval is the requirement for public disclosure of the LPPA agreement that the board just has.
Housekeeping. Okay. Any questions? Any motions?
Chairman, I move we approve AB 1200 document.
Okay, Mr. Nava moved that we approve. Mr. Neely second. Any other comments from the board or the public? Call for the vote. It passes 7-0. Personnel matters, Mr. McKilligan, you got something for us?
Mr. President, routine personnel matters are presented for your consideration.
Chairman, I move we approve personnel matters.
They're routine. Yeah, I got it first. Do I have a second? Okay, Ms. McFarland. Any board comments? Comments from the public? Call for the board vote. And this way it should go. And it passes 7-0. Okay, we have already had student rep. Is there any comments from any of the employee groups tonight? We haven't already heard from them. You got something, Michelle? Yes?
Heard from that.
Oh.
Getting your walk-in tonight, are you?
Good evening. We had a long-term member of our association and retired recently. She taught in our district for 41 years. Many of you know her. Knew her. Linda Wong passed away a week ago.
Number one on seniority.
She was a tremendous advocate while she taught in this district for 41 years, but even in retirement, she was a fixture, I understand, at Mosier Elementary, still helping out, and an active member of many different groups that facilitated early literacy. I believe she was one of the founding teachers that worked on transitional kindergarten and getting that going. Going to her service, there was such an outpouring of just how much time and love she dedicated. 41 years. 41 years of kindergartners. God bless her. We will miss her, and I just thought that you ought to know that we lost one of our advocates who was she was still advocating for early literacy and young little pre-kindergarten kids. her family is dealing with her loss, and we as an association, because she was an advocate for teachers. And she brought the 30-minute duty-free lunch, I understand, back in the day to our contract. So she was a great advocate, and we miss her. Wanted to recognize her today for all her achievements.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, she was definitely an advocate for teachers and students. She even walked the picket line, precincts for me when I was running for board. Good lady.
She was. We are excited moving forward at the bargaining table with RBET, and we look forward to meeting on Wednesday with both teams and the RBET committee, and we think that's a great idea. We also wanted to acknowledge the efforts of Bear Creek, and I think I was out for a moment when somebody announced the score, but the efforts that the parents, teachers, and staff, and I understand Dr. Washer was also a donator to the Rooter bus that went to go support that team traveling on that next level. And I think that's really important. You know, it's something that we all grew up, you know, traveling on the bus to go follow our team, and hear their great achievement. It took a lot of people putting that together and donating their time, and I think their athletic director and Ansuela Garcia were instrumental in getting that orchestrated, and I just want to do a little shout out to them and Dr. Washer for helping subsidize that Rooter bus to support that team in their endeavor. Thank you.
There's always a lot of nuts and bolts that have to happen to make these things happen. Yeah. Most people, it just doesn't happen. People make it happen. Okay.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thanks. Yeah. Dr. Washer, do you have something else?
Yes, Mr. President, members of the board. Also want to thank Mr. Kahn for his efforts in helping get that the fan fest going too on such short notice. So thank you.
Lots of moving parts.
As you know, we are approaching testing season, so the SBAC, the state testing time, is coming up very quickly. Our schools are doing a great job trying to motivate kids to do their best. Teachers are working on test strategies to help kids prepare for the test. I am going to suggest that we try a new test prep strategy in the spirit of Tokay High School. Let's try hypnosis.
You're getting tired. Miss Jury duty.
Ms. Patowski, you have a report on the local control and accountability plan. Yeah, come on up. Yeah, no.
Well, last time I was canceled.
I'm sorry.
We skipped me.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Didn't have anybody else. I'm looking for
I'm
John.
sorry if we can go back a moment.
I was looking for John Hunt, sorry.
I know, I'm sorry. It's me. I did want to thank the board for the approval of the tentative agreement, and I wanted the board to be aware of our 7 subgroups in LPPA. We will have 9 retirees this year. We have a lot of wonderful people who've put a lot of years in here at Lodi Unified.
Did you happen to know there's a requirement now that people who are retired need to find a suitable replacement? I just checking.
You know, we're really trying hard, and just within the SLP department, we will have 10 vacancies come fall due to maternity leaves, retirements, and relocations. So we definitely want to be sure to stay in the minds and hearts of our school board, and we will be honoring those retirees at our final LPPA meeting in April. So thank you all.
Okay, thank you.
This way, Mr. McKillian can stay the whole night.
Okay. You're up, Ms. Patowski.
Okay, this is probably our last update for the local control, the LCAP plan that we have. We're presenting what we have gathered from the last couple of meetings, and then I believe we are scheduled to have a study session on April the 5th. So what you have here tonight is the input received from the LCAP committee that met since our last meeting, sharing with you LPPA, CSEA, and LEA. That's all attached to the board agenda item, plus all of the previous LCAP information that has been given to you from all the previous meetings. And staff kind of, not to influence anybody's direction or anything, but we tried to take all of that input and put it into some kind of a form, and we call it a compilation form. So attached is a document that where items were mentioned at each of those meetings, which committee mentioned those. So if it's mentioned, was mentioned at the CSEA meeting and the ELEA meeting, it has two mentions or two points of groups. So that'll kind of give you an idea of what maybe is a priority for the groups out there that are talking. As it stands right now, based on what Mr. Khan shared a little earlier about the interim report, we're recommending that we make hardly any changes. We don't want to make any changes to the 1920 LCAP. That would be our recommendation. And then there are some minor budget changes. I can't call it fairy dust anymore because Tim's not here, but it really is not a lot of budget changes that we would consider. So that's our executive.
So status quo is what you're saying? Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Any board comments, questions?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. You know, I've got a suggestion from athletic director at Bear Creek about an idea that he's got for some equity in the funding of our athletics departments. And that doesn't mean that everybody gets the same amount of money on this. He brings it to our attention that some of our schools are quite well supported in their funding, and true by booster groups, by parents, whatever, and then others are not. He's got a suggestion for that, and it really belongs in the LCAP. So I know you don't want any changes, but I think that on the 5th, that we as a board ought to at least take a look at that. So I just want to give you a heads up on that.
Can you share that with me afterwards?
I
If you
will,
just email it?
absolutely. I'll forward you the email and the revised suggestion that he sent to me. So, just wanted to let everybody know about that one.
Okay. Any other questions?
Little thing about scheduling. You said April 5th, we have a study session.
Did I say the wrong? It's April the 9th, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I knew, you know, it's 9:30, quarter to 10 at night.
I know.
It's April the 9th. This is
That's
the
9:30.
You okay?
9th, I can make.
Okay.
5th,
We need
not
you
so
there. I probably won't be here on the 5th either, so.
Okay, this is not an action item, so.
Correct.
Okay, we are down to the very last thing. Mr. Neely would like to give us an update.
You know what, we haven't got much time on it.
I know we have. You want to wait, or?
No, I just have one thing I want to
Okay,
say. And then if it's okay, I've got an actual report. I can just, how do we get that out? It's a report on,
Is it the attachments?
what's that?
Are you talking about the attachments on your item?
Well, no, there's more. I've received
Okay,
more
just
since
send it
I was
to
going
me
to give a
and we'll
verbal, but it's some of the bills that are outstanding. It's not a discussion item, it's simply informational, so I can send that to the board.
Yeah, you can.
Right, okay, all right, that's good. I do want to tell everybody that something that's not out that has been talked about. I did meet with the new PACER, the CSBA grassroots representative is going to help us get out there. Steve Reed, excellent choice for that position. The mandatory school start time has raised its head again. And they're going to be looking at that one more time. Personally, like I say, I totally support a later start time, but I don't think the state should mandate that. I think that should be up to the school district. There is some really interesting things going on about charters. You saw one of them pass already. One of the big ones is that the chartering, the district within where the charter would reside has final say-so on whether that charter gets put there or not. The other thing is that a new allowance, it allows charters to be turned down because of the fiscal impact on the district. These things come about because of Oakland and because of Los Angeles, where they have been whittled down by charter schools. And Mr. Khan talks about the impact of declining enrollment. If we don't do something about this, that's going to happen to us. Another one actually caps the number of charter schools of what we currently have. In order for a new one to get approved, the old one's got to go out of business. So those are some of the things. I'll get more information on this.
So finally, charter schools are having some...
Charter schools lost their friend in the governor's seat. Okay. And the new one is not quite there yet.
Cool.
I look forward to this conversation with you, Mr. Palmquist. This will be interesting. But that doesn't apply to district-owned charter schools, though. Okay, so that's the good thing. Also, the CSBA brought this. It's called Unchartered Waters, and it's about charter schools. I'll try to get everybody a copy of that as well. That's all I got. Thank you very much.
Okay, is there any stuff from committees?
I don't have any committees, but I like Dr. Washer. You know, we've had these after-school programs, and we support them financially. Could we get a report on that? Sure. As to how many participants we have, what we do, and all those kinds of things? I think it's a good thing to know. Thank you. What kind of? After-school programs, you know, bridges and races and whatever we had.
One more thing. Next Tuesday, a week from today, is Legislative Action Day up in Sacramento for CSBA. I'm signed up for that. If anybody would like to sign up for it, send me an email. I'll send you the link and you can get signed up. You need to do it right away because they start having all kinds of things. On Monday night, we're actually going to have, I think, a class on what to do and all that kind of thing. So send me an email and I'll forward you the contacts.
Also, for future agenda items, let's get that Bear Creek basketball team in here.
Oh, yeah.
I'd love to come and praise them just a little bit. And it's been too long since we've heard the McNair Choir sing, so I'd love to have them open a meeting.
Yes, sir. We typically do a lot of recognitions in April. Is that still?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I have a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn, sir.
Okay. Nominate and Freitas.
Second. I think you're staying around.
We're out of here.
I got my sleeping bag in the car.
Let's get a girl voice.
You said don't leave. Behave yourself. I prefer not. I can't say that, you're my boss. I haven't seen you all day. I know. It's funny you do this, you know.
I would never say that.
Shame on me. I know. Yes. I'm gonna choke.
Okay.
So, good night.
It's not the content.
Thank you. All right.
Glad to help.
It's not the content. It's more of a technical thing, so they think that you're not transmitting that optimal rate. And again, this is completely theory on my part right now. Yeah, because we noted that it was recording. Because people have seen some of the other pieces that we started. Because I stopped them, and then I stopped them, it becomes a video. So I'm gonna go through tomorrow and put them all together. So. together, I will be labeling them in order. Yeah. Okay. Stop. Don't take it, I mean, I don't know how you can not take it personal. Good job.
It's not everybody. See ya.
Huh?